The 2023 European Le Mans Series Championship reaches its conclusion this weekend for the 4 hours of Portimão tomorrow from 1 o'clock. And it's a strange old weekend because we've already had a 4-hour race in the ELMS. That happened yesterday, which was round 5 of this series. And some degree of deja vu now as cars are wheeled out onto the working area from the GT category, because we were only qualifying, about 24 hours or slightly more ago with these cars. Yesterday, that was actually a morning affair, but exactly the same procedure. 4 lots of qualifying, each of 15 minutes, and we begin with the GTEs, and this to decide the grid for the final race of the year, deemed as the 4 hours of Portimão. Johnny Palmer, Graham Goodwin over there of dailysportscar.com. We've got Steph Wentworth in the pit lane as well. And we know where we stand with this, Graham, although apparently the weather tomorrow looking very, very iffy indeed. It has been raining today, and hopefully it's going to be drying up over the next, 90 minutes or so for qualifying. That's where we've been this season. Barcelona way back in April. Then we didn't have a race until July because of the cancellation of the May race at Imola. And that is the reason why we've got an extra race this weekend. We went to Aragon at the end of August, Spa-Francorchamps in September, round 5 on Friday, that's yesterday, and round 6 tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. And whilst there were frustrations through part of yesterday's race,
good afternoon.
Boy, oh boy, was that final hour something to watch. If we get anything close in the drama today in qualifying and tomorrow in the race, we'll feel well served by this double header.
The track has been declared wet. Rain lights on, and please remind drivers to keep the cars between the 2 white lines as per the regulations. I will come back to frequency before the session starts.
So absolutely clear what is expected there from race director Eduardo Freitas. This 4.6 kilometre Portimão circuit. It is a real challenge, Johnny.
3 very different sectors, actually. The first and the third sectors are rapid. The sort of 2/3 of that main start-finish straight begins at the start and finish line into turn 1, which is a good overtaking opportunity. But if an overtake doesn't quite work at turn 1, then the person you're trying to overtake can get you back into 2 and 3. Then there's the flick back through 4 and 5 towards the hairpin. The hairpin is a classic overtaking opportunity, but that begins a sector which is much slower and much more technical. You spend half the time going uphill and downhill, and then you plummet down into turns 12 and 13, which is the start of sector 3. But you've got to get 14 and 15 right, because that will determine your highest speed back across the timing line. Wet weather tyres, definitely the order of the day for the GTs. Remember, this is the only category in the field that does have intermediates to choose as well, should they be required. These are the updated points from yesterday's race. It's only 3 points separating Ryan Hardwick, Zach Robichon and Alessio Picariello from the drivers in 3rd position for Iron Lynx, Claudio Schiavoni and the 2 Matteos, Cairoli and Cressoni. A further 9 points back, Gianmarco Liverati, Christian Reed and Julian Andlauer, who took the win yesterday. And that extra 25 points has really brought them up into contention as we enter this final round.
Another chapter in history closes today, the final ever qualifying session in GTE in Europe. Just one more to come, and that's in Bahrain in what is it, 2-3 weeks time. But for now, we've got just this session and 4 hours of racing tomorrow before the chapter closes in Europe.
Reminder, the track has been declared wet, irrelevant of the tires. Rain lights are to be on.
There's also, of course, been another bulletin regarding the balance of performance.
Under 30 seconds to open pit exit.
And that is success ballast. So it is going to be another 30 kilos that the number 16 car has to carry during qualifying and the race. Other cars with extra weight.
LMGTE session will start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit exit should be open. LMGTE session has started.
Actually, I'm just looking down at the number 60 car that will be in the queue, no doubt, as well. That's also with an extra 30 kilos. So both the 16 and the 60 Porsches run at exactly the same weight for this final race, 1299 kilos. Extra 20 for the 77 Proton competition car, so that runs at 12.89, and there's 10 extra kilos for the Formula Racing Ferrari because of its good result in one of the 2 previous races. But otherwise, everybody else is at base weight, so we could well have an unusual winner in this, but we'll be paying very close attention to particularly where those 3 Porsches finish: the 16, the 60 Iron Lynx and the 77 Proton car.
Not at all sure why Elisa Powell is being shown in the AF Corsa 51 car. This is an all-bronze session, isn't it?
Yes.
So
yes.
that's either a mistake on the timing with the driver transponder, driver identifier, or it's a mistake by the team, which I don't believe to be the case. But, well, it's all about this 15 minutes, Johnny. A wet track in places, damp track in other places. Ryan Hardwick, Jens Moller, Johnny Laursen, Elisa Powell apparently, Duncan Cameron, Takeshi Kimura, Claudio Schiavone, Martin Berry, Arnold Raban, Michael Fassbender, John Hartshorn, and the man who's done more races in a row than any of them, Christian Ried, are the final qualifiers in LMGTE for the European Le Mans Series. It's been one hell of a ride with these cars, and what memories from the ranks of Aston Martin, Ferrari, Porsche, down through the years, principally in this class in the European Le Mans Series. 1 year with BMW in the Z4 GT3 back in the day. 1 win, I think, for that car as well from memory. But it's been great performance from the teams, the drivers, and in particular from the stars, the cars. Let's enjoy, we hope, 15 minutes of all that these cars, these drivers, and these track conditions can dole out, and then 4 hours more to finish the chapter.
1 o'clock race tomorrow, through till 5 o'clock, but the weather, I just read one detail for tomorrow's weather, listing 3 words: heavy intensity rain. So, and that's, I think, across the board. It may well affect the Michelin Le Mans Cup race in the morning as well, which is 1 hour and 50 minutes from 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. It shouldn't be Elisa Powell, you're quite right. It should be Crichton Lentudis in the number 51 AF Corsa car. That's the reason why it's painted in the Greek livery, because he
hasn't
Greek.
left the pitch yet. Oh yes, it has. It's gone out and come back in again.
Yes, yes. Ryan Hardwick's car has also done that. So we saw a little bit of this at Spa-Francorchamps as well, with cars circulating and then having their tyres either switched around or brand new set being put on and then to push. So it's obviously going to take a bit longer for the 51 and the 16 to give us meaningful times. So brand new wet tyres for both of those cars. No one's going to be brave enough to even go onto the cut slick, the intermediate, I am sure. Although once they've got the banker lap in, or a few of those, and to make sure that it's legal as well inside the track limits, then maybe later on some will risk it. But the problem is this is an all-bronze session. If it was the pros, it would maybe be a different story. But they want to try and keep it as clean as possible, because we're racing tomorrow in a lot fewer than 24 hours from now. So again, you don't want the car to be damaged overnight and for the team to be up to all sorts of crazy hours fixing it. Here's yesterday's winner, an awesome scrap between Julian Andlauer and Alessio Picariello, eventually going the way of the 77 Porsche. And as mentioned, they have now moved to 67 points courtesy of that win, finishing ahead of the 16 and the 60 car. So potentially the 3 cars that will finish in the top 3 in the championship, finishing in the top 3 in the results yesterday.
Also, by the way, by dint of that result and the win for the number 77 car, moving Christian Ried level on 11 wins in the European Le Mans Series in GTE history with Matt Griffin. If either of those 2 win tomorrow, it will be a record that stands forever. First to top the times, by the way, Johnny Laursen in the number 50 car. This is the Formula Racing car, the burgundy-coloured Ferrari. Gorgeous looking car this year, very classy looking. Christian Ried, second quickest, by the way, 0.288 of a second back before we get to Michael Fassbender, who's significant chunk further back than that, for over 2.5 seconds as they get up to speed. On board now with Michael Fassbender in the wheel tracks of the number 44 GMB Motorsports Aston Martin. Car in the hands of Jens Moller.
The 93 car, we reckon, has intermediate tyres on.
As does Michael Fassbender.
That's the 93.
Oh, sorry, and the 77.
The 77 is the car that's been driven by Christian Ried. So both Proton cars have decided to go the route of inters.
Well, at the moment, it would appear Christian Ried's going very rapidly, and he puts in the fastest first sector of the session so far in these early stages. Still 9 minutes to go. Rapid fire stuff over just 15 minutes. These laps tick through very quickly indeed. But Christian Ried, rolling back the years, the grand old man of Proton competition. A second generation racer in this family run team. There is a third generation with Jonas Ried in LMP2.
And Jonas absolutely fine from the race accident from yesterday in the 99 prototype. That car's been fixed, you were telling me.
Yeah, I was talking to Michael Ried, who's Christian's brother. He runs the technical side of the team and therefore Jonas's uncle. Yes, young man is absolutely fine. Shrugged off, and he thought that there would be a problem for the 99 car. Bodywork only for the main parts of Michael. And they move forward with this multifaceted, multi-class Proton, multi-championship Proton competition effort this year. Comes Michael Fassbender. Where does he end up? Third quickest, closes the gap, 1.8 seconds now. Chris Ried closes the gap to 22 thousandths of a second, because both he and Johnny Lauerson have just gone through with improved times. Lauerson sets the fastest lap of the session, 2 minutes, 0.682, 22 thousandths off is Christian Ried. Game on for this pair.
John Hartshorn right up there too in the 95 TF Sport Aston Martin, going fourth quickest. Takeshi Kimura briefly held that position, and worth mentioning Takeshi's car, the car guy Kessel Racing 57 Ferrari, because that's the only other car in contention for the championship now, because you need to be obviously within 25, 26 points of the championship leader. There are 4 other cars, apart from the 16, this car, that are close enough. They are the 60 bright yellow for 60 Porsche from Iron Lynx, the 77 Proton competition Porsche, yesterday's winner, and that car guy Ferrari.
Mentioned John Hartshorn, amongst his achievements in motorsport, starts at Le Mans in GTM in 3 different British cars. TVR, would have been GT2 back in the day. The Lotus, the TVR, the Aston Martin. Did he start the Lotus? I think he did.
Was that a Jet Alliance car?
I think he was in a Jet Alliance car. He's definitely raced 3 different British cars at Le Mans.
Okay. Worth noting that on the CV. Now we've got purple times coming through for this car, Christian Ried. Johnny Lauerson, who's behind him on the road, due across the line but as soon as this car completes the lap. But it's only 22 thousandths of a second, or 23 more specifically, that Christian Ried needs to do, and he does exactly that.
But I think Lauerson may be quicker. He is quicker. It's 55 thousandths this time. This pair knocking just lumps out of each other in terms of the times, but matching each other almost thousandth to thousandth through these laps. 2 minutes, 0.279 for the Ferrari, 2 minutes, 0.334 for the first of the Porsches. Michael Fassbender closes the gap again, now down to under 1.5 seconds, so good pace from him. Hartshorn too, quicker again, closes it 2.37 seconds. That's good pace from John Hartshorn.
All 3 cars at the sharp end are losing time in that final sector, though, as Johnny Lauerson a moment or 2 ago had a half spin coming out of turn 3, and he did find the turf.
Oof, didn't he?
That's not doing any good at all to the splitter of that car, and also now finding the scenery is the 72 Aston Martin of Arnold Robert, and rather grubby that right-hand side of the 72 TF Sport Aston Martin looks.
That ain't no way to treat a lady.
Very sideways at 4. And again, the splitter scrubbing the turf, but thankfully nothing more solid than that, even though the Armco barrier was mere inches away on the left-hand side.
Christian Ried is up on pole time, but only by 16 thousandths of a second as he clears sector 1. Drops tenths though in sector 2. Does not look to be on pole pace unless the grip is coming in the final turn. Looking there, Ryan Hardwick way off at the moment. I think this is a battle between cars on wets and cars on inters right now. There are big gaps. I expect you're going to find at least the top 4 cars on inters.
Okay, Yeah, it may be as simple as that, but as I say, the 16 and the 60 cars are particularly heavy for this meeting as well. I suppose we're only talking 15 kilos here and there compared to the 77, and tyre choice will be far more a considerable difference. We're fairly confident that the 77 is on inters, and interestingly, that car's now pitting.
Yes.
So does Christian Ried think it's dry enough for a run on slicks? Into tyres, so it's going to be stickered inters.
So he's on wets to inters.
Okay.
They're going to have to be quick here.
They really are, because you've got to get out, you've got to do an out lap, and then start your quick one before the checkered flag is displayed. So they were going to put stickered Goodyear Eagle inters on, and the wets now being sourced.
Christian Ried has been timed as the leader in this session, so that must be Johnny Lawson. He has had his fastest lap deleted, so the 77 car goes to pole position by dint of a lap time being removed for the 50 Formula Racing car. Duncan Cameron pops up into third quickest now.
They are definitely wets coming off the 77, and wet weather tyres eventually being chosen to put on the 77 car. So put a brand new set, and away will go the 77. No tyre limitations in GTE either, so you don't have to worry about restricting your tyres into the race either. Here's Takeshi Kimura, 6th fastest, but he's just done an absolute best through the first sector. So the question is, can he carry the speed through? He's at the moment a quarter of a second up on everybody else.
It's a big improvement for him. The one point I'd make about Christian Ried, 3 minutes to go and he's off pit lane now.
Ryan Hardwick to third, by the way. I think he's just gone through, hasn't he?
Yes.
Third position for Ryan Hardwick.
So that's looking good in terms of his profile up the order. Is that Christian Ried would have put stone cold wet tyres on that car.
So he's got a lap. He's got a lap to turn them on and then push like crazy.
So Christian Ried, Johnny Lawson, Ryan Hardwick, Duncan Cameron, Michael Fassbender, Jens Moller, Takeshi Kimura, who is still up on pole time, as is Jens Moller, as is Michael Fassbender at this point.
Waiting for Johnny Lawson to cross the line. He's probably likely to be a few tenths away from his best, and Takeshi Kimura in the car guy Kessel Racing car to the top. Well, we suggested that might be a bit special after he'd done an absolute best through the first sector, and it's 2 PBs to complete it. However, Jens Moller now in the GMB Motorsport Aston Martin jumps ahead, and by, we've seen this number before, 22 thousandths of a second. Aston quicker than Ferrari, quicker than the second of the Ferraris. Duncan Cameron now third.
He does pop up to third, briefly third, was Michael Fassbender. So it is 4 tenths of a second separate the top 4. Another tenth you get to Michael Fassbender, and we've got the top 8 within a single second in really challenging conditions. Takeshi Kimura, though, is pushing hard and has gone up another 3 tenths quicker in sector 1 over and above pole pace. This is anybody's at this stage. We're on to effectively the final charging lap for almost the whole of this field. There are 4 cars here that will get through to start one more lap. They are the 16, he's in the fight, the 77 very much in the fight, the 51, of course, with Chrysler and Dunis not really in the fight. They will start their final laps in moments. After that, you're effectively... No, Kimura might get another lap in here, you know. He might. Ryan Hardwick goes to the top, 75 thousandths up. It's the 16 car in the mix of the championship. And Ryan Hardwick pushing hard to put another point on the board. Jens Moller second in the Aston Martin. It is Porsche, Aston Martin, Ferrari. They're the storied mates in GTE down through the last decade and more. Only Corvette really missing are the ones that have been ever present.
What about Takeshi Kimura? He's gone quicker than anybody else through the first sector. It's a personal best in the middle sector. He's really finding some time out there now, looking very, very comfortable indeed. And this could again be a change of potential pole sitter. He'll get another lap out of it too, and he does go to the top by 0.127 of a second. But Ryan Hardwick finding more time as the track continues to dry. Who's due across the line next? It's Michael Fassbender in the number 93 car, going to stay in 6th position. Jens Moller still third with no improvement. And the 55 crossed the line there as well, Duncan Cameron. That was a better lap for the Cheshire man. as the checkered flag is now out. So Martin Berry going to be no better than 5th in the 66 JMW Motorsport Ferrari, and also across the line Arnold Robert, who was off earlier on in the session, remember, in the 72 Aston Martin.
Watching what's going on with Takeshi Kimura, he's up. Watching what's happening with Ryan Hardwick, he's up on the pole time. So too, 6th at the moment is Christian Reed. He's a quarter of a second up after sector 2. Ryan Hardwick slightly quicker than that again. This isn't done until a couple of minutes after the checkered flag has come out.
Claudio Schiavone, a PB in the first sector. He's about to complete his session, and Schiavone does not improve. Ryan Hardwick due across the line next. He's second fastest at the moment, but has he got enough up his sleeve to jump ahead? Yes, he has, by 1.1 seconds. So there you go, how much time is out there. Christian Reed will go into second position and only shy by 0.4 of a second. Kimura's going to be a few corners away. The 51 crosses the line. That's Crichton Lendudis, and it definitely is Crichton at the wheel of that, rather than his teammate Ulias De Pauw. But Kimura could be the best placed here. He's found so much speed through the latter portion of this session and has already got 2 purples. Could be about to leapfrog 2 Porsches to lock out the first position for Takeshi Kimura and the car guy Ferrari. They're desperate for points. They could win the title this weekend, remember. 4th in the championship at the moment, and the Japanese will cross the line to only go 2nd and sit between the 2 Porsches. So that heavy number 16 Proton car of Ryan Hardwick hanging on to pole for the time being, but there are still cars about to cross the line. And there is a shuffle of the order further in the mid-pack. Duncan Cameron quicker than Jens Moller, and goes 4th. But Ryan Hardwick has done the business with a 1:58.574, just over a quarter of a second faster than a rampant Takeshi Kimura, but he couldn't quite find the time in that final sector.
It would have been a tiny, tiny error from Takeshi Kimura in the final sector of that lap. Looked to me like it was his all day on that final lap, but Ryan Hardwick, what a performance from him, and what a performance to this point, Johnny, across the whole season. Circuits he's never seen before in his life, and he puts in performances like that.
Tremendous effort, and having also to win as the car gets more and more successful. But as you say, making the point about having to cross the Atlantic every 4 weeks or so, and probably having done a lot of work on the simulator to learn these tracks. But then as the car gets more successful, they strap a bit more weight onto it, and they still need to find a way for it to be quick. Well, it certainly was in that session. A 1:58.574, over a quarter of a second quicker than Takeshi Kimura, who really did very well also in the 57 car guy Kessel Racing car. 3rd fastest for yesterday's winner, Proton competition, and Christian Reed. 4th was Spirit of Race, jumping ahead of Jens Moller in the dying stages. So Duncan Cameron up to the 2nd row. GMB Motorsports Jens Moller will have to deal with a 3rd row start, along with the JMW Motorsport Ferrari of Martin Berry. Then it's Michael Fassbender also for Proton. Arnold Robert in the TF Sport 72 Aston Martin. Johnny Lawson in his Formula Racing car ahead of John Hartshorn, Crichton Lendudis and Claudio Schiavone. And here is Christian Reed then. They were on the top of the podium yesterday after a really good foundation set by this man for the opening hour and a half. Kessel Racing's Takeshi Kimura sharing with Scott Huffaker and Daniel Serra in the final few rounds of this championship. But the championship leaders now have a 4-point advantage over Iron Lynx, because the 16 Sky Blue Wright Motorsport liveried Proton car takes the pole. Let's hear from one of Ryan's teammates now, chatting to Steph.
I am joined by Alessio Picariello, driver of the number 16 Proton competition. Congratulations on pole again for the last race in this GT era. Are you buzzing to get into the car tomorrow for the race?
Yeah, it was really exciting. Ryan did an awesome job with these tricky conditions. It was a headache again for the tire choice, again, like yesterday in the race, but it was his call at the end to go on the inters. He judged the track on the outlap and decided to go on the inters. Some other cars went straight away with the inters, so we had 1 lap less, but he did a fantastic lap, and yeah, 1 more point. And as it's very tight in the championship, this is it's important.
All right, well, best of luck for the race tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tyre choice critical. It was about getting on those intermediate tyres and getting the best out of them. Ultimately, Ryan Hardwick it is that will set pole position for the second of 2 races this weekend here in Portimão, on the final race of what has been an epic 2023 European Le Mans Series. Away go some more disappointed players, including Michael Fassbender. He would have hoped for better, but not a bad start to the plays to put into place for this final race of the season, as the LMP3 cars are wheeled out onto the apron ahead of their 15 minutes of fame this afternoon.
And the session less than 5 minutes away, again already declared wet, so those rain lights will have to be turned on to make Eduardo Freitas a happy man. And also that gives you the chance to bolt wet weather Michelin tyres to these cars. So all the other categories run on Goodyears in the European Le Mans Series. Michelin, though, favoured by the LMP3s. It's a mixture of Ligiers and a couple of Ducanes, but it was the Ducanes who had the good result yesterday with a first and a... where did the number 4 car finish? Yeah, 3rd position. So both Ducanes finished on the podium on Friday's race for the ELMS. A pole position actually yesterday taken by the number 8 car of Manuel Espirito Santo of Team Virage, and it remains to be seen whether they can repeat that feat, because they're actually on a hat-trick now. They took pole at Spa, they took pole yesterday in the 4 hours of the Algarve, and this is the 4 hours of Portimão to make it 3 in a row. Yeah,
we should add as well, as we added in on the earlier broadcasts, that it's been quite some weekend on that front for Team Virage. It was a pole position as well in LMP2 Pro yesterday for the first of the 2 races in the European Le Mans Series this weekend, and pole as well in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Highly unusually, didn't take pole in either of the Ligier European Series races, which they've utterly dominated all year.
Yes. Yeah, well, that was partly, very much to do with the fact that Meneer Stefan's car was incredibly second-hand and couldn't take part in qualifying. It rather opened the door for the others. The fast lane is now available to those cars that want it, and why would the number 8 car not jump out as quickly as possible? The 12 WTM by Rinaldi racing car winners yesterday, after they were eliminated or taken out of the Spa-Francorchamps meeting in September because of a big breach of the regulations. But this will be not a bronze session, so you can use any driver that you have at your disposal, and I'm guessing Oscar Tunio once again will qualify the number 12 car, and no doubt it'll be Manuel Espirito Santo in the number 8, after he did such a good job yesterday as well.
All 11 cars will be ready to go when Eduardo Freitas calls them to green, and that will happen, I think, in is it at the top of this minute?
I think it's at 17:45.
Well, we've got quite some time
a couple of
wait
minutes yet to wait.
So who we got up there? DK Engineering, the number 4 car. That is the first of the Ducanes, numerically at least. It's the 5 from RLRM Sport, one of 2 cars for the British-based team. Nielsen Racing, another British team based out in Corby. They're number 7, Ligier. Team Virage, they're 8, Ligier. Euro International, 1 car only this weekend, no show for the number 10 car, but the 11 car is here, another of the Ligier. WTM by Rinaldi Racing, the winners yesterday, they're number 12 Ducane. Into Europol competition, the very familiar green and yellow colours of the Polish Racing Bakers, the 13 car, bitter goal for them with a split bell housing, causing a pretty major fire for that car yesterday. They've done great things to get that car back in. It's the second RLRM Sports number 15 car, another Ligier. Cool Racing 17 car, the championship winners yesterday, sealed it excuse me, I've got that wrong, haven't I? Yes, they did seal it yesterday. Racing Spirit Le Mans, the 31 Ligier, and Ultimate, the red and white 35 Ligier complete the field, and we are under 60 seconds before qualifying begins for 15 minutes.
It remains to be seen how Cool Racing approach this, actually, because they may well be very much off the leash now, and the 17 car that we're on board with, presumably sending Marcus Siebert out, because he's generally done the business in qualifying. Alejandro Garcia absolutely ecstatic with that championship yesterday that they sealed with a round to spare, and it does rather take the pressure off.
Track is wet, rain lights on.
Because racing around here, when the stakes are incredibly high, we have seen it year upon year.
LMP3 qualifying session starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Pit exit is open. Pit exit is open.
Once again, Eduardo Freitas, our race director, proudly Portuguese, proves that he can count backwards in English better than just about anybody.
I think that's right. But there is no place to hide here at the Algarve International Circuit. Thankfully in LMP3 you don't need to, and in the case of the 17 Cool Racing crew, defending their championship perfectly, and they will be very much looking forward to the presentations taking place tomorrow night. But in every other category, this is high pressure, which begins now and will not be over, well, till gone 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Let's call who's in these cars. The 4 from DK Engineering, that Duquesne in Pedro Perino's hands. Valdemar Eriksson is at the wheel of the number 5 RLM Sport. Ligier, Ryan Harper-Ellam aboard the number 7 Nielsen Racing car. Team Varage's number 8 is indeed pole setter from yesterday, Manuel Espirito Santo. Adam Ali takes the wheel for Euro International's 11. Oscar Tunyo, correct, Johnny, aboard the 12 WTM by Rinaldi Racing at Duquesne. Kai Askey in the 13 from Inter-Europol competition. Gail Julien is in the 15 from RRM Sports. Cool Racing field Marcus Siebert in the number 17, the championship winning Ligier. Racing Spirit Le Mans, it's Antoine Ducas in the 31 car. And finally, it is Jean-Baptiste Lehay aboard the 35 Ultimate car. And we are rolling.
Now, there was another big pre-practice session earlier today. Not quite the mammoth affair of 3 hours that was on Thursday of
just
this
two
week.
and a half.
Just the 2.5. But you see, you would normally get 2 doses of free practice at 90 minutes each. So you can understand why there has been so much running, uncompetitive action, if you like, although it's mandatory to be in it, because unless you do laps with all of your drivers, then theoretically you're not then able to take part in the race. So it's important that you get your drivers out there to at least take part in it, but it's questionable as to how useful that's going to be for the race, because the race looks like it's going to be fairly wet for the majority, whereas this morning's lengthy practice session was held predominantly in the dry. So useful nevertheless for basic setup, and they will have, most of these teams will have some idea in which direction they want to go if the weather does rather go south, and they should get some warning of that as well with a 1 o'clock start immediately after lunch tomorrow. Here is the hero of the day from yesterday, Manuel Espirito Santo, delighted to be at his home event where he's got lots of friends and supporters, and he really did do the business yesterday to set pole position. Question is, can he repeat that feat? Can he remember exactly what he did to get there?
I think he drove very quickly around the circuit to get there, and I'm hoping he's going to do exactly the same again.
If you think it's that simple, this game,
Colin Noble Senior there.
You really don't understand.
Here comes Manuel Espirito Santo, looking to put yet another headline on what will be a really glittering press release for Team Virage this weekend.
So what would be interesting to do actually is compare whether we have had any changes whatsoever. I sincerely doubt it, although Ultimate had Mathieu Lehay. They've put Jean-Baptiste in it for today, interestingly. The number 5 car, Valdemar Eriksson, he certainly did do qualifying yesterday as well, but the key players, as in the fastest, Espirito Santo, Tunyo, is it Siebert, did he say, in the 17?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so you could have more or less guessed those drivers, but it is a question now of, well, the outside factors and also where the cars are placed in the session as to who might be there at the very closing stages, because again, if the track continues to get drier, then it's about who's out on track in the closing stages.
First rapid laps coming, and first to the top was Manuel Espirito Santo, but he was almost immediately knocked off his perch by Oscar Tunyo. There's a minor error at the top of the hill, I noticed, from the Team Virage driver. At 0.137 of a second is the gap between the two of them. Pedro Perino, Kayaski, Gail Julien complete the top 5. 10.5 minutes to go, but it is at the moment yesterday's race winning team that sits top of the times after the first offers from just about everybody.
The other thing is that I'm sure many will be surprised that the 13 car can even run today. After it ended up in a ball of flames yesterday.
Well, clouted, the team believe clouted a curb, broke the bell housing clean in half, apparently, That was what caused the oil out all over the exhaust, and happily driver managed to pull the onboard fire extinguisher, which reduced the damage. So well done to him. But well done, yeah, well done to the team for turning around what was clearly a car that was somewhat crispy into something that looks very much more race ready. Oscar Tunyo, by the way, going around quickly again this time. Antoine Ducan going quickly too, very much on pole pace himself. Thousandth in it between the two of those after the first two sectors of this run. Also in the midst of this, Kayaski looking very rapid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars at the moment within half a tenth of a second of pole pace after two sectors.
And it's the Colombian Oscar Tunyo who is fastest by 0.137 of a second. Kayaski in the repaired number 13 car, though, up to 4th place, and that might be even better because he's just done an absolute best through the middle sector. Pedro Perino completes that lap to briefly jump ahead, though, of Aski in the DKR Duquesne. And here in the other Duquesne is Oscar Tunyo heading down to the first corner.
Yeah, did not improve. Kayaski goes second for Inter Europol by 0.124 of a second. Briefly third was Antoine Ducan before Kayaski just shuffled him back to 4th. So it is Tunyo, Aski, Espirito Santo, Ducan and Perino now on the top 5.
We are also hearing from Steph that cars are coming into pit lane to roll the dice and just give it a go on slicks. You don't have the joy of an intermediate in LMP3, so it's either the full blocks of the wet weather or slicks, and amongst them the 17 of Marcus Siebert. So that's the gamble maybe you can afford to take, having already won the championship.
Tunyo, though, is half a second up on his first sector time on pole setting pace. He's already the provisional pole setter. What can he produce? You said at the top of the show, Johnny, you're absolutely right. It is 3 sectors that are very different indeed. He passes the number 4 Duquesne, the two Duquesnes together briefly on track, and he's still up on his pole pace, although drops a couple of tenths. The interesting thing here is, what are we going to see from the 17 car, and for that matter from the 11 car of Adam Ali?
Yes.
On slicks. If this looks ready for slicks, you're going to see the rest of these cars head pit lane very quickly, and they're not got long to do it. And Adam Ali has come out straight away and spun on those slicks, so that's not the best sign early on. An
indication that perhaps everyone else has chosen the right direction to go, and that was just a bit too much throttle coming out of the right-hander. We're waiting to see Kayaski and Oscar Tunyo cross the line. Kayaski could be even faster than Tunyo, who does not improve. Aski's about to cross the line in the next few seconds and could very easily jump ahead of Oscar Tunyo. So Kayaski to the top for Inter Europol competition, and by 0.247 of a second.
Tunyo must have had a moment in the final sector. He dropped over a second in that final sector, but it is the 13 for Inter Europol competition. I had a chat with the team yesterday, and actively considering changing this lucky 13 number that's been anything but for them in the European Le Mans Series. How many times have they finished runners-up in this championship, and they'll do well to finish even there this year after disasters yesterday. Kayaski, Oscar Tunyo, Manuel Espirito Santo, Ryan Harper-Ellen comes up into 4th place now, Antoine Ducan in 5th, and Pedro Perino into 6th. Keeping an eye on the times from Marcus Siebert. It won't be this lap, but we're trying to get some heat into those tyres. 31, we believe, onto slicks now as well.
And 15, the RLR M Sport car of Gaël Julien. So slicks being bolted onto the Felbermeyer liveried car.
My apologies, I misconstrued. 31 car is still out on the wet tyres they started the session with. Kayaski is herring along. They are finding pace. He's almost a second up on his own pole setting pace after 2 sectors. This is going to look to be probably the time to beat at the moment. Here comes the 31 car down the hill. This is Antoine Ducan. He's not quite on pole setting pace at the moment.
So we've got Adam Ali on slicks. There now Gaël Julien, who's just rejoined the session on slick Michelins, and there was one other car. Is it Marcus Siebert?
It was indeed Siebert.
Yeah, taking the gamble, and that hasn't paid off so far. Well, only because Siebert's not set a time, so we'll give him a moment.
This is his first fly, and it might take more than that. Kai Askey goes through and is in a 1:51.1. He's taken a second off his best time. So 1:51.1 plays 1:52.2. Oscar Tunyo struggling now to find that pace. In comes Racing Spirit Le Mans from nowhere. Jean-Baptiste Lehay goes to the top, and it's a stellar time, 1:50.829.
0.3 of a second clear of this car, Kai Askey. So we're keeping our eye on the half yellow, half green car of Inter Europol competition, but it's the red and white and black of Ultimate that we perhaps needed to be concentrating on, because the 1:50.829, remember, it was older brother Mathieu Lehay who did qualifying yesterday, and that was only 10th place. They'll be wishing they'd put Jean-Baptiste in for Friday's qualifying.
But watching Oscar Tunyo in third, he's had a couple of quiet laps, but he's been girding his loins, I think, and he's way up on his previous pace and on the pole pace, but so too is Jean-Baptiste Lehay. They're the two that look like they're in this fight at the moment. Still keeping an eye, by the way, on Marcus Siebert on the slicks, on the 17 car. He's not there yet. He's more than a second off pole pace. But if he can switch those tyres on in the last couple of laps here, things could change around very rapidly indeed.
Faster than anybody again through the first sector is Jean-Baptiste Lehay, but Oscar Tunyo certainly not hanging around, nor Manuel Espirito Santo. They were setting personal bests. Here is the number 12 car of Oscar Tunyo. He set a PB in sector 1. Should only be about 95 thousandths of a second away, and in fact he does improve, but he doesn't go further up the list. So third position still for Oscar Tunyo, but he should have this next lap and one more.
But Jean-Baptiste Lehay is going way quicker than even the pace he previously set. He's 9/10ths up on his previous time after 2 sectors. It was a 1:50.829. Can he break the 1:50 barrier here? 3 minutes to go in the session, and he goes through, and it's a 1:50.259.
That's nearly a second clear of Kai Askey, and there are one or two puzzled looks down in other garages as to how Jean-Baptiste Lehay is finding all of this speed. Antoine Decan, I noticed, came into pit road in the number 31 car. Does that mean he's been put onto slick tyres as well? Marcus Siebert does appear to be really on the ragged edge. No groove tyres beneath him. However, Siebert's just done a 35 flat through the first sector and a 36 dead in sector 2.
It's not going to be enough at this stage. He will get one more lap. Is this track going to dry enough to make the difference? I'm not sure that it is. He said it's really a matter of can he switch these tyres on. I'm not sure that's within his grasp here.
So it's definitely a fight between Jean-Baptiste Lehay and Kai Askey at this stage, and Jean-Baptiste quicker again through the first sector. He might be able to shave as much as a third of a second off this in the closing stages. Kai Askey very good through the first sector, but he's dropped time in sector 2. There goes Marcus Siebert up to third position in the number 17 car. He found all the time in the final sector.
That's what I was looking for. It's looking dry down that hill, but he's still 1.7 seconds off the pole setting pace, and still Jean-Baptiste Lehay is turning the screw on this, and he might just get 2 laps out of this, you know. Siebert might have more than 2 laps to come in this. I don't think he will. It's going to be tight. Kai Askey comes through. No improvement there.
No, Askey doesn't improve. Marcus Siebert, we've told you about, and he now goes quicker through the first sector, but it's maybe about a 10th and a half away.
It's the middle sector that's hurting him.
Okay.
It's this. It looks to me to be traction coming through turns 3, 4, and 5 that is hurting this this run.
The other car to look out for is Antoine Ducat after that recent visit into pit lane, because he's just done an absolute best in the middle sector. And now Gaël Julien, the 15 car we know for a fact is on slick tyres, and he's gone quicker than anybody else through the middle sector as well. However, a twist in the tail could be that the rain we're hearing about in pit lane once again. It may well be raining on the start-finish straight. That doesn't guarantee it's raining all the way around the circuit, but those that are on slick tyres, this might be all she wrote for them.
Lehay up on pole time, Kayaski up on pole time, Oscar Tunyo up on pole time. This man, Gael Julien, where's he going to end up? He goes to the top. It's a 1:49.867, 4/10 of a second to the good. But Jean-Baptiste Lehay is on an absolute flyer. He's a second up in the first sector, but it's raining. Here comes Siebert. He goes second with 3 seconds on the clock, and we'll get one more go at this. And he's 6/10 of a second shy of Gael Julien's best pace.
So slick-shod Gael Julien. Jean-Baptiste Lehay we still don't quite know, but may well be on slick tyres. Marcus Siebert definitely on the slicks, and the 31 car made that late pit stop, surely to move to the very slick rubber that Michelin offer. So the checkered flag's going to be shown. The first across the line is Kayaski, who can't find any improvement. Jean-Baptiste Lehay, though, this will be the end of his session, and he is set to improve all of them. Well, barring Gael Julien, who might be about to find another full second, in fact. Windscreen wiper still on because of now the rain pouring on the start-finish straight. But Jean-Baptiste Lehay goes to the pole position by almost 6/10 of a second. Now, the good news for Gael Julien is he still has just about enough up his sleeve to go faster than that.
But he's lost time in the middle sector, and it's raining, and it's where the grip is important, is down this hill. Is it going to stay dry enough for long enough for Marcus Siebert? For Gael Julien, it's a twitching finish to the lap from the 31 car from Antoine Decaen. He's in the window as well. He goes second, 1.127 of a second back. But so it's Jean-Baptiste Lehay, Antoine Decaen, Gael Julien, Marcus Siebert still to complete this lap, as does Adam Ali. It's going to be the RLR car next up. Goes to the top, 1:48.519 and 8/10 to the good.
Amazing time from Gael Julien. We've still got Marcus Siebert, though, to cross the line. So the 11 car gets to the end of the session.
And he goes
Marcus
second.
Siebert goes second fastest, and by half a second just under. So Gael Julien in the Felbermeyer livery RLR M Sport car is the pole sitter. My, oh my, did that session keep us guessing. Gael Julien, it was a momentary real decision that now has really paid off. But so one of the guys that was pretty early on to change to the slick tyres, and it took a while for that decision to prove that it was the right one. I really feared for the 15 crew that they might be about to lose out big time and not even break into the top 10. But Gael Julien, the hero of the hour, by almost 5/10 of a second quicker than Marcus Siebert in the number 17 Cool Racing car.
Been a big part of the history of LMP3 to this point, and new eras of history in LMP3 about to be written. The other point to make here, Johnny, as we watch the RLRM Sport crew, the biggest, baddest boy band from Bolton, this crew, is that these are important moments to catch the eye of the race organisers, because decisions are going to be made about which teams are coming back for next year, and next year where there's going to be a bumper crop of LMP2s. There's going to be brand new LMP3s, and these guys do not want to be the Cinderellas, and putting a car on pole position at this grand finale is no bad time to do it. 15 car, Gael Julien, brave in these conditions, trying to find out where the grip was in what was a stellar selection of, I think, 3 quick laps for this car. Comes out with pole position for the finale for this season.
So it's the first pole of the year for a car that is yet to feature on the podium. 2 4th place finishes so far for car 15, and they do it by just under half a second. Gael Julien quicker than Marcus Siebert in the championship winning Cool Racing number 17. 3rd fastest Adam Ali for Euro International, also on slicks. And Jean-Baptiste Lehay, well, maybe we'll find out in due course, but that's probably a slick time as well for the younger of the Lehay brothers. Then Antoine Decaen for Racing Spirit of Le Mans. Kai Aski for Inter-Europol competition in the repaired number 13. Oscar Tunyo, yesterday's pole sitter, only down in 7th place, ahead of Ryan Harper-Ellen for Nielsen. Manuel Espirito Santo, sorry, yesterday's pole sitter was the 8 car, beg your pardon, the 12 yesterday's winner, and Pedro Perino and Valdemar Eriksson finishing 10th and 11th. So those cars that will ride up there, i.e. the 8 and the 12, having a very different Saturday.
Indeed, and that's the key. Tyre choice and the timing of that tyre choice proved to be the key, and the difference you can see. Race winner yesterday, 3.7 seconds off pole position on the intermediates as everybody went to slick, or everybody ahead of them went to slicks, and just enough time to make that play out.
Adam Alley finishing in 3rd position in the number 11 Euro International car. Kicking the tail out, Argentine Marcus Siebert in the 17 Cool Racing car, 2nd fastest, but it's Gaël Julien with the headlights ablaze as the ambient light just starts to dwindle very slightly. Sunset here is just after 6:45 local, and our next session is due off in just under 5 minutes' time, 10 past 6. We should be done with qualifying either on the nose 10 to 7 or marginally afterwards. So this is the time where our fellow or our friends, the photographers, really enjoy if it's a clear enough sky to get a cracking sunset, which is a rather quick affair at this latitude. We're right in the southwestern corner of Europe, mainland Europe that is, and we always get at this time of year some fabulous sights in the sky, although the fairly heavy cloud cover this week has rather been a difficulty on top of that.
Bit of a downer this week.
Yes.
It is one of those weeks where quite often the teams choose to bring their families out. I think a number of them are pretty glad they didn't, and that's not because they don't like the families. Not a lot of fun to be had outside the villa. LMP2 Pro cars to the apron though, Johnny, and this is where we take it up a notch. Good news yesterday, as we wait for these cars to fire up. 10 cars in this field here in Portimão. Lost one of the United Autosports car earlier in the season after incident for Jim Maguire called an early bath to that programme. The best news yesterday, aside from a cracking finish to the race in the European Le Mans Series, was the news that until 2030 we will still hear the Repsol Rhapsody that you're about to hear unleashed with the 4.2 litre Gibson engine. The GK428 will continue to power LMP2 well into the future.
So that's the next 7 seasons,
yes,
in actual fact. Now, how far did we know we were going? Till the end of 25, was it? 24. So it's a 6-season extension.
I mean, realistically, what has happened here is we talk about sustainability, we talk about greening of this, that and the other. The reality is you've got to look at the whole life of these things. And the reality is it is far greener to extend the life of something that works, the logistics work, the economies of scale work, than by bringing in something brand new with the developments and the throwing away something that's perfectly good. I had a conversation with someone from the ACO yesterday, and I used the word upcycling. And I don't quite mean kind of painting the things white and putting distressed draw handles on them, but you get the general idea. It ain't broke, don't fix it. The teams love it. The economies of scale work with these engines. There are, I think, 60 of them in existence around the world, and a goodly proportion of those are going to be in operation today, and well, 10 of them any moment now. Good decision, methinks.
It's won a lot of fans, no doubt, and stability often is key as well. So we are a couple of minutes away from the next session for LMP2 Pro-Am, but first of all, let's get some reaction from one of the previous sessions. Let's get back to Steph Wentworth.
I'm joined by Mateusz Kabrzyńczyk, pole sitter of the number 15 RLR Motorsport. Congratulations, Gael's just put it on pole for you. It's been a big weekend so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really amazing. We are very, very happy about the result now. So yeah, we'll see tomorrow.
Okay, and how do you expect the race to go? Obviously raced already once this weekend. Are you looking forward to it tomorrow?
Yeah, it's hard to say what I would like tomorrow, so we'll see. But yeah, fingers crossed.
All right, best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, teammate James Dayson, photobombing in the background there. We'll talk to you about that later, James. What can you do? Canadians, eh?
So he's in the sister car, isn't he, rather than celebrating with the 15
He's
crew,
celebrating with the team.
I know.
Yes.
I mean, they are definitely one crew, one team. However, if they were side by side on the final lap, gunning for the victory in LMP3, they would definitely be separate entities. But yes, every chance to disrupt proceedings. James Dayson will be front of the queue, generally speaking.
Under 30 seconds to start LMP2 Pro-Am qualifying session.
When you listen to that the voice from Eduardo Freitas, just imagine him relaxing in a high-back chair.
Can we have the rain lights on low mode, please? Let's ask the drivers to keep the rain lights on low mode, and pit exit will open in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit exit is now open. LMP2 Pro-Am qualifying session has started.
Now, having delivered that message, you will put down the brandy, put out the cigar, take off the dressing gown and move to working mode, because the bonkersness is about to begin.
From LMP2 Pro-Am, again, an all-bronze session, because the LMP2 Pro-Am division, although it's exactly the same machinery at the team's disposal as in LMP2, the difference is the driver makeup, and if your trio includes a bronze-rated driver of the precious metals system, then that automatically puts you into the Pro-Am Championship. There's a separate podium, there are separate championship points on offer, and of course there's a separate title to be won as well. This car, Racing Spirit of Le Mans, Racing Team Turkey is what I meant to say, had a bit of a nightmare yesterday. It started really quite badly as Sally Jolic was very sideways in the rain and dropped the rear tyres into the gravel trap at turn 8, but then an incredible drive back to sixth position. Yes, it was sixth, because they have 8 points to their name. The other frustrating thing, though, for Racing Team Turkey, run by TF Sport, Tom Ferrier's outfit, is that run of pole positions in LMP2 Pro-Am was broken by Alexander Matchell in the number 19 Team Virage car. So they'll be looking to certainly finish the season with 5 poles from a potential 6. So a feel for what the track is like at this stage. And if slick tyres were proving to be the best to be on in the closing stages of LMP3, I would imagine most of this field will be on slick tyres, and Steph Wentworth reckons that all 10 are on slicks, in fact. So taking the risk in the opposite direction, and if you can get a banker lap in here and then it really starts to pound down, there is the chance to get in for wets. But once again, no intermediates, so you really do have to make a full-blooded decision whichever direction you go.
Well, they've just seen what's happened in the LMP3 session. They've had that advantage, but as you can see on the windscreen of the 34 car, there is rain falling. It's not battering it down at the moment, but it's enough of it that could make a difference in extremis, Johnny.
I suppose the downside of having all the field on the same tyres is that you can't look across to your neighbour and go, oh, how are they getting on with wets? So until somebody makes that decision, it's a question of just keeping it on the track, I suppose. But it's too dry for the wet weather and the blocks to start to work well. And then all you do is start to overheat a set of wet weather tyres, and that potentially will spit you off onto the grass or worse. So Sally Jolic getting into a groove now, and this is the real test, heading between turns 4 and 5 on that back section of the circuit, right in behind the paddock. There's a giant retaining wall at the rear of what is quite a narrow paddock area here, but it goes on for a considerable amount of time all the way down to turn 1, as we found out walking down to the Ligiers area yesterday, although they were kind enough to put on a couple of free beers, so I was happy I made the effort.
We weren't going to bother, but then someone said the words free and beer, and all of a sudden we were kind of buoyed up to make the trip.
Well, it was great as well to meet a number of the Ligier European Series drivers as well, having commentated on that championship all year long, but you don't always get to see the faces behind the helmets.
Oh, trouble for the 99 car, Giorgio Roda.
But thankfully, that car looks a lot prettier than it did towards the back end of yesterday after a huge crash during the race.
He was just showing us there that they'd repaired both sides.
Yes.
That's all that was.
Yeah, and all the handiwork from Proton Competition's mechanics. Brilliant job, guys, and thank you for the effort to show it off. So Giorgio Roda will thankfully find the black stuff again and continue to pound round. We've already had 4 minutes of this session, though, so an indication of how quickly things will slip through your fingers if you're not paying attention.
Here comes the marker. It's going to come from Sally Jolic. He goes through the 1:53.202 is his first offer. That's beaten immediately, though, by Tom van Rompuy in the DK Engineering car. Rather ironically, the car that Sally won his Asian Le Mans Series title in earlier this year.
Okay, so yes, it's amazing, I suppose, how many cars perhaps that you have history with or that you've driven before appearing again back at future meetings.
Yep, that number 3 car, one of the 2 oldest cars in this field, 2017 chassis 005, I gather, for the Oreca 07, and I believe chassis 121 is here this weekend.
You know your chassis numbers, Graham.
I love them.
Impressive knowledge there. Here comes the number 3 car coming out of the hairpin at turn 5. Rain lights flashing, of course, as was the instruction at the start of the session. And the DKR Engineering car of Tom van Rompuy, fastest so far. Remember, it was the 19 car quickest yesterday, and Alexander Matchel is back at the wheel of that, as he must be. Fred Pordad driving the number 20 Algarve Pro racing car, yet to post a time, nor Francois Perrodo. Matchel pits.
He does.
In the Team Virage car, yet to understand why that is.
Well, let's wait and see. What I would say is these lap times are going to come tumbling very rapidly after 2 sectors, both around Rompuy and Sally Jolic are already 4 seconds quicker this time around as these tyres get switched on. It will take longer, of course, with the moisture on the track for these stone-cold tyres as they were put on the car to get up to operating temperature. Nielsen Racing, by the way, I can see in the background, are getting ready to go. And it looks to me as if it's going to be wets going on for the number 19 car.
Well, you see, I wonder whether, you know, these are the moments where you just have to go away from the crowd and just see if something's going to work. It may not do, but maybe Alexander Matchel feels that's the big chance he might have of getting a double pole this weekend. Here's the number 24 car, maybe about to do likewise with American driver Rodrigo Sales.
1:47.527 for Tom van Rompuy. It's 1:47.726 for Sally Jolic. So at the moment, been bested twice on broadly equal pace. And the gap, by the way, between those two and anybody else is 6 seconds.
So that's wet for slicks on Sales's car.
Whereas the other car, the 19 car, has gone in the opposite direction.
Indeed. Well, okay, well, maybe it's about doing some laps on at least both tyres to see how you fare and where you're most comfortable with. But to be fair to Sales, he's got up to 3rd on wets, so clearly there is a bit of speed out there on brand new treaded tyres. And there's a bit of moisture offline, which these cars will be hunting around for. Not so much Sales now, after he switched for the slicks, but certainly we'll be watching out for Alexander Matchel to the more unconventional parts of the circuit.
The gap between these two is going to be absolutely tiny. It's just a smidge under 2/10 at the moment, but both are just over pole position pace at the moment. One by 7 thousandths, the other by 63 thousandths. So what is going to be the grip level, as we've found throughout this weekend so far, Johnny, in these changeable conditions? The condition of this last sweeping right-hander is so important. First through, Sally Jolic goes through, and he goes through and does not improve.
So no, Jolic is staying 2nd fastest.
Well, Van Rompuy doesn't improve either.
No, so the gap remains at 0.199 of a second, despite 2 absolute best sectors being set for each of those cars. Car 3 was quickest through sector 1. Car 34, the Jolic car, quickest through sector 2. Henrik Hedman now jumping up to 3rd position, though, with a 1:53.352.
But he's 6 seconds off.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, it's you know, astonishingly different. It has to be tyre choice.
So the preferred tyre.
I think the others are on wets.
Yeah, well, Sales was and is now on slick, so he's going to be the one to watch now, and the difference in pace. Sales' best effort, the 1:53s. Probably you're only going to be able to access times below the 1:50 marker if you switch to slicks, which makes the Alexander Matchel decision even more mind-boggling, frankly.
The fact that we've got 3 drivers in the 1:53s, all broadly 6 seconds off a time with slicks, indicates to me they're all on wets.
Yeah. So Sales as I say, is set to change, we think. Fred Pordad, though, probably on wet weather tyres in the Algarve Pro Racing car number 20. Francois Perrodo, you would think AF Corsa might be mindful of switching to slicks if they can possibly get the car in and back out again. But as the 5 minutes and 40 that remain continue to tick down, now Tom van Rompuy is upping the pace again, and so is Sally Jolic. In fact, he's found about 0.4 of a second potentially on Van Rompuy, and here comes Sally Jolic now to cross the line, and surely will go to pole position. That's exactly what he does by 0.211 of a second, and Tom van Rompuy, no improvement behind.
Absolutely. Out comes Rodrigo Sales. This is onto a flying lap this time around. Track limits as well as the pit stop. The first time out, of course, it is out lap on slicks. Let's keep an eye on what goes on with the two cars contesting pole at the moment, because there might be other takers. Alexander Matchell, meanwhile, is way off on his new wet tyres, 4 seconds off as they get those tyres up to temperature. Here comes Henrik Hedman, third. He improves again, but cuts the gap to only 3.5 seconds. Only to 3.5 seconds, not only. Still a mighty gap.
And again, those that want to bridge that gap from 1 minute 50 as it stands now to 1:47, the mid 47s, they're going to have to do a pit stop to get there, and they're running short of time to be able to do that.
It's not just the pit stop, is it? It's the pit stop and having time enough to warm the tyres to make the difference. Yeah. Giorgio Roda is 13 seconds off pole position here.
So Roda, well, probably the priority for Proton Competition was getting the car fixed and getting plenty of action for it today, and it did compete in free practice 2 earlier today. 2.5 hours worth of it, and at least the car is in the qualifying session to get some sort of time. Giorgio Roda does improve 1 place there and switches from the one side of the 4th row to the other. So huge lock-up, though, for Giorgio Roda.
He's off briefly, over the curb, keeps it in the straight and narrow. Well held, sir.
We know that the wet weather tyres aren't particularly grippy anyway in this distinct lack of dampness, and that's not going to help them. Still yet to see the promised improvement from Rodrigo Sales. He's done a 1:53.4. Those slick tyres yet to show the performance that we reckon Sally Jolic is able to extract from them, and Tom van Rompuy, because there's only 0.2 of a second between those two cars.
So much about squeezing the performance out of these slick tyres on this track that's not got a full dry line is about confidence. And if he's had a moment or 2 moments or 3 moments, that would have broken the confidence levels he's got in whether or not when he leans on those tyres they've actually got the grip he needs.
Lights not actually flashing on the number 20 car. That's just a bit of porpoising actually over the start-finish line for Fred Pordad. Now facing the wrong way is Alexandre Coigny, and going the wrong way down the track in order to rejoin as well, just as the 24 car Rodrigo Sales arrived on the scene. Don't want to be seeing cars heading in opposite directions at that kind of speed. Let's hope Sales had seen him from a long way back. There will have been yellow flags being displayed, of course.
Hedman is on a much better lap now, is closing the gap with, that was Sally Jolic. Don't think there was any contact there, was there?
No.
I think he was just on the wrong part of the track and couldn't find the grip to turn.
I wasn't convinced from the first angle.
Oof, dear me, that's a big old lock-up, isn't it?
But the second, I think it's made worse by the flashing rain lights.
Yes.
It almost looked like the car was on fire underneath, but it wasn't. Yeah, the first angle suggested maybe there had been side-to-side contact with Coigny with this car, but no. Then we viewed it from the top of the hill, and there did seem to be at least half a car width between the two at all times.
So through comes Sally Jolic, no improvement there. One big improvement, Alexander Matchell goes third to the number 19 car on those having changed to wets, but the gap is 3.29 seconds. That may be all she wrote for a set of wets here.
Yeah.
Rodrigo Sales, just watching his form. 6 seconds off at the moment. We know that car's on slicks. The wizardry of these things, though, is racers talk about switching on the tyres, and it is literally like that. They're not in the window, they're not in the window, they're not in the window. Oh my God, they are.
Yeah.
And it's another world.
totally. But that timing has to be absolutely smack on, especially in the what was LMP1 era, now hypercar era, because you were carrying your qualifying tyres then into the race. And of course that is still done in the ELMS as well, but on wet weekends slightly easier on the tyre restrictions if wet weather tyres can be legally used. But yeah, regularly I remember Toyota drivers in the World Endurance Championship doing literally an out lap, a fast lap and an in lap, and you had to try and turn those tyres on in the space of a lap. How sideways do you like it for Rodrigo Sales? That is another way of heating the tyres up, but you're going to choose through them rather readily at the same time.
Keeping an eye on the times at the top of the...
Sales sideways again,
he's
and
not
off the
road.
road.
10 seconds to go on the clock here. We've got Castellet up on his previous pole time. It's already at 1:47.316. Time is up in the session, so this will be the final laps for everybody as they cross the line. First to do so will be Castellet, who doesn't improve. What can Tom van Rompuy do? He's not that far away. Just coming now, the number 3 car through the final turn. He was a 10th off Castellet's time after 2 sectors. Can he improve and grab it? He cannot. Just under 2/10 off. But Giorgio Roda is half a second up after the first sector.
Here we go. So Giorgio Roda, having said he was absolutely nowhere for the majority of the session, and I think that was fair comment at the time, a huge lock-up into turn 1, but nevertheless, Roda now finding half a second through the first sector, and the problem for everybody else is that they've either seen the checkered flag, or they have. Everybody else has seen the checkered flag apart from this one car, which has just done the absolute best through the first sector, make that 2 purple times out of 2. 1.2 seconds up now on everybody else. He's massively
up on everybody else, and the grip has come in the first part of this this track. They're the faces at TF Sport to look after Racing Team Turkey. If he keeps it neat and tidy, if there's grip still to be had in the final turn, it seems to be at the moment he's following that dry line like a laser.
And from TF Sport, Racing Team Turkey's vantage point, what on earth can they do? They've tried as hard as they can, but conditions have changed again.
They can look really glum, and it looks like they're going to have to stay this glum, because this, I think, is going to be pole time for Giorgio Roda, and it is, but only by 0.137 of a second from the wall to pole.
Yeah, what a story for the 99 crew. Giorgio Roda doing the business. I honestly thought he was going to jump to pole position by over a second. In the end, it's just above a 10th, 0.137 of a second, all down to a drying track and really good tyre judgment as to what to bolt on and at what time. And the Proton competition car that was in a bag of bits this time yesterday is now on pole position for the final round of the season.
Something about a wet, dry qualifying session that is just absolutely gripping, and that wasn't a pun, although I will take claim for it now, just albeit belatedly.
Fair enough.
I meant to be funny is what I'm saying.
You are always. I like them from time to time. I don't think I would like them. You know, the sort of Bernie Ecclestone theory is that just add water constantly for every race. I think the novelty of that would somehow be taken away.
I think anything we're going to say about Bernie Ecclestone this week, we probably should just stow, really.
Well, true. Yes.
Dear me.
Indeed. He's been in the news again. So, yeah, but on the odd occasion, I mean, this whole weekend, this grand finale to the season for ELMS has been, I will use the word storming.
Yes.
And quite deliberately.
Yes.
1:47.179 for Proton competition, Giorgio Roda. Just 0.137 of a second quicker than Sally Jolic's Racing Team Turkey, number 34. Then Tom van Rompuy and Alexander Matchell, yesterday's pole sitter for DKR and Team Virage, respectively. Fred Pordad with a good qualifying to 5th for Algarve Pro Racing, ahead of Henrik Hedman, who was briefly 3rd. Then Francois Perrodo for AF Corsa, Daniel Schneider for United Autosports, Nielsen Racing's Rodrigo Sales, and Alexandre Coigny briefly facing the wrong way in the number 37 Cool Racing car. He was 8 seconds adrift, and surely that was down to being on wet weather tyres at entirely the wrong time. I don't think I mentioned the championship battle for LMP2 Pro-Am, but it is incredibly close. AF Corsa, therefore Francois Peroda's car, leads the championship by 2 points from the Cool Racing 37, and then just a point back Racing Team Turkey with all those pole positions. But their season's just gone a little bit off the rails of late. There is the 34 car, second fastest. We just caught a glimpse of the number 3 DKR engineering car, the Luxembourgish outfit, starting third for tomorrow's race. But it seemed unlikely, even with about 3 minutes to go, that this car would be fastest. The Jonas Reed car crashed yesterday. Bent Viscal back in this machine as well for the final weekend. But it is Giorgio Roda who does the business in the number 99 car.
Cracking stuff for another session. And guess what? Still one to come, because if you thought that was the LMP2 class, that was LMP2 Pro-Am, and we've got another treat. It's another 7 LMP2 cars, and this time the big difference in what are identical cars, it's the full pro drivers with their shoulders to the load. It will be United Autosports, Algarve Pro Racing, winning the race, who fought out the race yesterday. United beating off an effort from Algarve Pro Racing at the death. Edic Sport, Duquesne Team, Inter Europol Competition, Cool Racing and Panis Racing.
So 7 cars from LMP2 finding their way out onto the working apron now. We will look at these cars in detail in a tick, but let's hear from the Proton camp after their great result in the previous session.
I'm joined by Jonas Reed, driver of the number 99 Proton competition. First and foremost, pole position today, great position for the race tomorrow.
Yeah, obviously it's the first pole position of the season, first pole position of the team, especially in LMP2 now. To do it in these tricky conditions is absolutely incredible. The team did a great job, and Giorgio put it all together in the last second. So yeah, I'm very happy right now and cannot wait for tomorrow.
And you were running really well in the race yesterday. Obviously, you had the unfortunate incident. We're very, very glad to see that you're okay. Are you excited to get back in the car tomorrow? Obviously, a championship to fight for. Super important race, really.
Yeah, obviously, championship is close. I think we are not really in the fight for it, but obviously, still we want to get into the car and we want to hunt down this first podium. For us, it's long overdue, and I think that's our goal for tomorrow, to at least get a podium there.
All right, fingers crossed for you. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Doesn't seem that long ago that I was sitting at breakfast with Christian Reed at the hotel we're sharing, and Jonas was there, sitting with a little games console.
Amazing. It doesn't time fly.
And a strawberry yoghurt.
They shoot up fast these days.
They do.
How old is Jonas now?
74. No, sorry. I think he may be 17.
Okay. Because he speaks very well.
He does.
You can tell where he gets that from. Indeed so. He's 18, but I'll forgive you a year.
There you go.
Born in December 2004. Is that even possible?
Just stop it.
Silver rated and, making the step across to ACO Rules Racing for the first time this year, actually. Done an awful lot of Formula 4 racing prior to this, but Asian Le Mans at the start of the year with Rinaldi.
LMP3.
WEC, well, that was the Le Mans race, was it not?
Yes.
For GTE AM, and he was with his dad's team there. And, the season of ELMS, which is now coming to a close. But as mentioned, LMP2, without the Pro-Am suffix, is next. 7 cars then about to do battle. No restriction on driver. So unsurprisingly, we'll be going with a real hot shoes here. And James Allen is also on a hat-trick, isn't he, for the number 25 car?
Well, let's wait and see. Is James going to be released in this group? It was one heck of a race yesterday, Johnny, and it was the LMP2s to the fore. LMP2 Pro-Am has had its days in the sun, and despite the fact we did get interruptions to safety cars yesterday, it was the top-class cars that made it to the front of the race yesterday, and they doled out one heck of a treat. Treat 2 in LMP2 Pro-Am. What a stellar battle it was there. I've been trying to seek out through the replay picture of young Melter Jakobsen with all 4 wheels off at turn 1. I think we might be seeing that still at some point on social media from the European Le Mans Series social media team. But LMP2 Racing continues to dole out just great entertainment. Whether it's with the pros at the wheel, as we're going to see now, the AMs at the wheel just now. See what these guys can produce. 7.
And at this stage, we are at 1 minute. 1 minute to start LMP2 qualifying session. Track has been declared wet. Rain lights on. And please remind drivers that it is to remain between the 2 white lines.
He just needs that on a recording, doesn't he?
No, he does it live.
Play it on a hotkey and just say, here's the message again, although a lot of you don't seem to pay that much attention. Also, scratch the idea that James Allen's going to be on a hat-trick. Alex Lynn took pole at Spa. Right. James Allen took pole yesterday, but he didn't take the one prior to that. The 25 crew are potentially on a hat-trick, though, and let's see which driver they've chosen for today.
I think if Eduardo Freitas recorded his 10 count on a premium rate phone number, he'd make $1 million.
And LMP2 session starts in 10.
I feel like you can't say something like that without a right to reply from Eduardo himself.
5, 4, 3.
But we'll offer it out there to people.
1. Pit exit should be green.
I'm going to get a dry slap on it.
Did you notice I talked over that so that no one could whip it out, record it, and then sell it to people?
That's a standing instruction. We've got talk over the 10.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, it's his marketing team. It's just a nightmare.
Exactly right. And Steph Wentworth trying to bring us back to the matter in hand. For goodness' sake, she's far too well behaved. Tells us that all the cars are on slick tyres. So we'll wait.
She's such a pro. She
really is. She's the only pro in amongst this trio, I have to say. Here's the 25 car then, leading the championship by 20 points. There are 26 on offer still at this stage, with the pole in this session and the 25 tomorrow. United Autosports, with their win yesterday, back up to second place in the championship, and only 4 back from that, Panis Racing on 71.
There you go. So it's all up for grabs. It's going to be fit. So let's call out who is out there. Ollie Jarvis, race winner yesterday, is at the wheel of the 22 United Autosports USA car. Oh, look, the Spice Girls back together. If only Victoria would come and play. James Allen is aboard the 25-mile Go Pro Racing. Edex Sports 28 in the hands of Port-Loup Chatin. That's a change from yesterday. It was Lawrence Herr yesterday, wasn't it? Neil Jarney is at the wheel of the 30 from Duquesne team. Ollie Caldwell given qualifying duties for inter-Europol competition in the 43. 47 from Cool Racing is Vlad Lomko. Great race from him yesterday, periods of time. And Job van Utet, the Flying Dutchman, aboard the 65 from Panis Racing. So high quality indeed. Green flags around the circuit, and we're ready for laps at pace.
So who will be the first to throw down the gauntlet, if you like, and really set alight this session? Get the feeling that they won't be wanting to waste too much time at all, only because the longer we stay dry, the more likely with this weekend that it is to suddenly snap to the opposite and really start pouring down with rain. And the difficulty then is the track's just going to get slower. So far better to be out nice and early in the session, on slicks, set your time as early as you can, and then if there's wriggle room to improve, then someone like Ollie Jarvis will certainly be right up there to do that. A terrific drive in yesterday's closing stages particularly. He took over with 1 hour and 20 minutes to go, which is a double stint in an LMP2 car. These can do about 40-odd minutes, although they were very marginal on fuel, as it turned out.
Extremely marginal on fuel, controversially marginal, but it's all done. It's in the record books, and it created a cracking display. Carpet slippers at the ready at the end of that race on fuel management, lifting and coasting.
And Alex Lynn, who he was doing battle with, and they were side by side on a number of occasions. Eventually Jarvis able to squeeze by, but Lynn also being told to fuel save, we understand.
Yes.
So, I mean, both cars were effectively on the same strategy in the final couple of stints. There's the 65 car of Job van Uiter locking up into turn 5. So still short of a little bit of maybe brake temperature, and certainly Goodyear tyre temp, as these cars continue to circulate and build their way into the ideal operating window for absolute pace.
Van Uiter announced, I think yesterday, as taking part in the WEC Rookie Test Bahrain, and he'll be sampling a hypercar for the first time, and he'll be going in the number 4, the Van Moor badged car, so we'll know what it feels like to go about a second quicker than this.
So over the line will go Ollie Jarvis, just tentatively working his way into the session. Paul-Luc Chatin in the EDEX Sport number 28. He goes second fastest, but there's a couple of seconds between them, so we get to see really meaningful times. Joop van Houten will be next across the line in the 65 Panis racing car, and quite understandably he goes to the top 3 as well. In fact, he is third, and there's a smaller margin between second and third at the early stages. But all of these cars should be able to offer pace similar to Jarvis's, if not better. Probably mid-151s they'll be aiming at this time.
Olivier Parnis there in the garage of the 65 team that bears his name, of course. Aboard his car, the 65, and Joop van Houten at the moment. It's James Allen, by the way, lost his first flying lap to track limits in sector 2. Ollie Jarvis, meanwhile, pushing on and pushing on hard, as is Paul-Luc Chatin, as is Joop van Houten, all 3 of them. Unsurprisingly, as heat gets into these Goodyear tyres, finding real grip. No further rain, so you would imagine the grip is going to come, albeit light is leaving us. You can see by the way in which the rain lights are reflecting off the surface of the track. It's getting darker here. It's 20 to 7 in the evening. You're going to see big improvements in times on this time around. 151.8 the marker at the moment, but here comes Ollie Jarvis, and this is going to be well into the 140s.
Well, yesterday James Allen's time was a 148.6. That was, technically speaking, in a wet session, but it was a drying track.
There's a 147.1.
Yeah.
146.1 now for Paul-Luc Chatin. He puts a second Ollie Jarvis. And what can Joop van Houten do? He's about the same kind of pace here. He's going to cross the line now, go second, half a second off. So 146.178 for Paul-Luc Chatin, 146.724 for Joop van Houten, and a 147.101 for the United Autosports car of Ollie Jarvis. They're your 1, 2, 3, and they're the 3 that have so far completed a representative flying lap. As I say it, James Allen does likewise, but he's 4 seconds off at the moment as he gets the heat into his Goodyear tyres.
So we're already 2.5 seconds quicker than yesterday's pole time in LMP2, and that is merely the difference in the track conditions. Pretty much fully dry on the racing line, at least right now. Temperature's nice and cool as well, because it's just gone 20 to 7 in the evening. Certain cameras around our circuit show evidence of a bit of moisture in the air, but it's not actually rainfall.
Bit of misting.
Yesterday's session was wet. I remembered it being dry, but I don't think it was. I think James Allen had to set that 148.6 in pretty miserable conditions, in fairness. And actually, there was a lot of crossover between the LMP3 times yesterday and LMP2 Pro Am. We shouldn't have that muddle of the middle order today.
At the moment, of the top 3 cars in the order here, Joop van Houten is doing the better job of the 3. He's almost 1.7 seconds up after 2 sectors on Paul-Luc Chatin's provisional pole time. But the first time we're going to see is going to be Ollie Jarvis's time. His last was a 147.1. He goes a 143.7 this time, so a mighty leap up the order. Chatin goes a little quicker, 4 tenths up on that. What can van Houten produce? I think he may be quicker still. It's a 143.1. So all 3 of the 143s, 6 tenths between the 3 of them, and they end up with the order shuffled. Van Houten to the front, Paul-Luc Chatin second, Ollie Jarvis stays third, 7 minutes to go.
We're hugely quicker than yesterday's times, 5.5 seconds clear of the record set by James Allen on Friday of the grand season finale here at the Algarve International Circuit. So 143.165 versus the 28 car Paul-Luc Chatin doing a 143.357. So a gap just under 2 tenths of a second. Over the line goes the number 30 car, but Neil Jarni doesn't make any inroads. He has improved, but he's still in 7th position. Now there's going to be a few more moments, 40-odd seconds or so, before we see another car over the line, Graham.
It is, but we're seeing big improvements again as these 3 cars at the top of the timing and scoring improve their times. Vlad Lomko, by the way, is going to get into this fight pretty quickly. Already after the first 2 sectors, over a second again, and this time it looks to be sweeping in the direction of Paul-Loup Chatin. All 3 of those top 3 over a second quicker than their times. It's going to be into the 42s. Could it be in the 41s here with these 3? 6 minutes to go. Ollie Jarvis sweeps down the hill.
Car really moving around through turn 15. He was never in danger of throwing it away. He does go to pole by 1.7 seconds. However, Paul-Loup Chatin, who's right behind him, now 9/10 of a second clear of that lap. So we're down into almost the low 1 minute 40s now. And I still think there's time to be found, because what has Joop van Aert just done? Second fastest to slot between the 2 of them.
Yep, so again, it is Paul-Loup Chatin goes to the top, 140.467, 41 thousandths of a second back is Joop van Aert, 9/10 of a second back, Ollie Jarvis, and seems to be dropping away a little from the pace of the other 2, but is he looking after his tyres a little better? There's pace still coming here, and yet more pace, 3/10 quicker again in the first sector for Paul-Loup Chatin. 6/10 quicker though in the first sector for Joop van Aert. Ollie Colbel goes 3rd. He's 6/10 off the pole position time at the moment.
Neil Jarney over the line. He does pick up 1 position for Duquesne, so he's now ahead of yesterday's pole sitter James Allen. Not quite sure what's wrong with the 25 car at this stage, but waiting for him to complete another lap fairly shortly. He's just entered the middle sector now. A glimpse of the 47, which is being driven by Vlad Lomko for Cool Racing.
This time the pendulum is swinging back again, and it's swinging back again in the direction of Joop van Aert. 4 minutes to go. Ollie Jarvis will cross the line. He will, I think, briefly go to pole position, but it won't last for very long. He does indeed. It's 1:39.3 this time. Paul-Loup Chatin goes 86 thousandths of a second quicker though, 1:39.285. But here comes Joop van Aert, and I think he's way up on that time. He is, but it's only 76 thousandths of a second is the gap. It's a 1:39.209. That's almost 10 seconds quicker than pole time yesterday.
Yeah. Nice definition of way up as well, 76 thousandths of a second. That is a massive margin in LMP2 racing and indeed qualifying, in fairness. Here's the 65 through turn 4. Still got 3.5 minutes of this session to enjoy. And where is it going to go next? It's really all about that group of 3 cars that are all now in the second sector. Olivier Panis so engrossed in what's going to happen next.
But he's engrossed because it looks at the moment again through sector 1 as the man with the pace at this stage is Joop van Aert. Down on the pole time after the first sector is Ollie Jarvis, 1/4 of a second down. He recovers 1/10 of that in sector 2. Up on the pole time after sector 2 by nearly 4/10 of a second is Paul-Loup Chatin. After sector 1, over 1/4 of a second up. He drops a bit of time this time, Joop van Aert. Is this going to swing back the way of Paul-Loup Chatin? And you saw the reaction there of Olivier Panis. Tiny, tiny margins here. Can he claw that back?
This is so important because they want the extra point to bring them even closer to an unlikely championship for car 65. 28 about to cross. No, Jarvis goes top first of all. This is ahead of the Paul-Loup Chatin car, and Paul-Loup Chatin can't be faster than Oliver Jarvis. 91 thousandths of a second. We're waiting for Joop to cross the line now, who goes to the top by almost 1/4 of a second, and there is Olivier Panis' reaction to it. Very happy indeed, but there's still over a lap time still to go, so they'll go on to 2 more laps in total. Joop van Aert at 1:37.9, 1:38.1 for Jarvis, 1:38.2 for Paul-Loup Chatin.
Jarvis goes through the first sector. He's 1/10.5 down on the pole time. Paul-Loup Chatin goes through. He's almost 2/10 up on the pole time. What about Van Aert? He's nearly 3/10 up on the pole time. These 3 have just been battering the hell out of each other lap after lap after lap in these 15 minutes. It feels like it's gone on for 60 minutes. It's not even been 15.
This might as well be the 4-hour race tomorrow. It could be the end of it, frankly, with 3 cars not actually close to one another on the track, but trading really close times. And that's how much it means, folks, on the pit wall and in the garages watching this. It's the end of the season and so tight in a championship that is yet to be won.
After the second sector, 3.5 tenths up for Jarvis, 7.5 tenths up for Chatan, 6 tenths up for Joop van Uite. Could this swing to Paul-Loup Chatan, and they'll have one more lap if they've got the tyres underneath them. Here comes Jarvis, what can he do? His best, a 138.1. It goes to a 137.6, he goes to pole. To pole, though, goes a 136.9, 7 tenths up almost for Paul-Loup Chatan, 40 seconds on the clock. What about Van Uite? Where can he end up? Second, 31 thousandths of a second is the gap with 30 seconds on the clock.
So we got one more lap for everybody. Paul-Loup Chatan best placed with provisional pole at this stage. Joop van Uite really not too far away though, 31 thousandths of a second as he worms his way out of turn number 3. Here's the Delage sponsored number 28 car from EDEX Sport of Paul-Loup Chatan. He has the point in his hands at the moment, but that's the pressure for Panis, watching his car through every single split, and the better time then through sector 1 is with Paul-Loup Chatan.
By 2 thousandths of a second, both the top 2 cars right in the window. They're both up on pole time. Paul-Loup Chatan by 0.262 of a second, Joop van Uite by 0.260 of a second. Chatan adds a further tenth of that. He's only 4 tenths up after sector 2. 2 tenths up is Ollie Jarvis. The margins are tiny, nearly 4 tenths up, and actually takes about a tenth out of the Chatan car goes Joop van Uite. The pendulum swings again. It's going to be so tight. The checkered flag is out. This group coming down through the final turn now. It's going to be Ollie Jarvis that goes through first. He will go to pole, I think, with this lap. He goes to pole with 136.7, 136.1 Chatan. Where is Joop van Uite? Is coming down the final straight now, Johnny Palmer.
Next few seconds, we'll get our answer. Will the 65 crew get the point for pole position? They will not. They're only going to start from 3rd place, so he lost a whole load of time in the final sector of that lap, and 65 and those team members and engineers dropped to their knees with disappointment, because really to keep that championship alive as much as possible, they were so hungry for that point, but it will go the way of EDEX Sport, who are not in the title hunt, in fact. So it's as you were, but hang on a minute. 25 car of James Allen about to cross the line, and James Allen will go to 4th position in car number 25.
Very close indeed to taking 3rd position for Joop van Uite. That must have been either not finding the grip he thought was there, or a minor error in the 3rd sector. Boy, oh boy, that was some qualifying session between those 3.
Made all the more crucial because of that 24-point gap that separates Algarve Pro Racing, the championship leaders, back to Panis Racing, number 65. They could have made it a 23-point gap. I mean, it's still a long shot for tomorrow's race, but if there's a point on offer, everybody wants it. And as it turns out, it's a team not in contention for the title that wins it. So it's as you were. Algarve Pro Racing, car number 25, will start tomorrow's race on 95 points. The United Autosports 22 on 75 points. Panis Racing 65 on 71 points. Here are the times: 137.153 for EDEX Sport and Paul-Loup Chatan, by just under 6 tenths of a second in the end from Oliver Jarvis and the United Autosports number 22. Then Panis Racing for Joop van Uite. Algarve Pro Racing's James Allen snatched 4th position in the dying stages ahead of Inter-Europol competition Ollie Caldwell. Duquesne team's Neil Jarni and Vlad Lomko in the number 47 Cool Racing car. It's a pole position for the 99 Proton Racing car for Giorgio Roda. In 11th place overall, the 15 RLR M Sport car with the LMP3 fastest lap, just ahead of championship winners Cool Racing. And you have to look down to 29th place overall for the pole sitter in GTE, which is the number 16 car of Ryan Hardwick, who did the time along with Zach Robichon and Alessio Picariello. Supreme lap as well from Takeshi Kimura to put the 57 car guy Ferrari into 2nd place on the grid, ahead of the 77 Proton competition Porsche Christian Ried after their victory in the race yesterday. Everybody can breathe again in the garages up and down the LMP2 part of the pit lane, and the biggest smiles are with family team EDEX Sport after their man Paul-Luc Chatin, at least a double champion in this series previously, has done the business and another pole to his name.
Well, it was a big old fight, wasn't it? Joop van Uite looked like it was there in his grasp. He ended up with third place on the grid for tomorrow's final round. Ollie Jarvis right in the fight and grabbed second right at the death, having gone from first to second to third in quick order, lap after lap after lap. Kept his nerve though, and will start from the front row. But it was Paul-Luc Chatin that at the right moment produced the pace and the consistency, Johnny, that will bring EDEX Sport's 28 Orica to pole position for the season finale.
Tremendous stuff, and we always know that LMP2 cars provide terrific battling when we get to the race format of the weekend. But qualifying, especially with this calibre of driver that the ELMS has attracted now into the top class of LMP2, is just mesmerising. You cannot take your eyes off it. We are after the official sunset time now here on Saturday night at the Algarve International Circuit. And I'm sure many up and down the pit lane have been deserving of a beverage, shall we say. In the next couple of hours or so, there'll be quite a bit of preparation work to be done this evening in readiness for tomorrow's 1 o'clock race. But we must get reaction from the pole-sitting team. Now chatting to Steph Wentworth.
I'm with Laurent Haut, driver of the number 28 EDEX Sport. Feels like it's been a long time coming, waiting for this pole position this season.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we've been very close a lot of times this year, and it's good to have the pole position for the very last race.
And you obviously were racing yesterday in the changeable conditions. It's looking stormy tomorrow. How are you expecting the race to turn out?
Tomorrow looks like we might need to have a boat with us, but we will see. I mean, yesterday it was a big gamble. We were a bit unlucky, but I think now we have good chances for tomorrow.
All right, best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
They have been on the podium this year, although yet to take a victory in the number 28 car. Best result of second at Motorland Aragon a couple of months ago. Started the season with a podium as well, but as Laurence and Steph mentioned, a first pole of the year for car 28. A reminder of how the grid is set then, with the top 7 cars. This is with the reordering and reclassification, if you like, where the cars have put into class or. I beg your pardon, it's not. We've still got the overlap of the LMP3s and the LMP2 Pro-Ams. That will be corrected when we get to the grid for tomorrow, because the cars, unless you've not recorded a time, will be in class order. P2, Pro-Am, LMP3 and GTE, and the final GTE race to take place in Europe to look forward to tomorrow as well.
It was a cracker yesterday. Let's hope the weather plays ball and we can have a fitting finale to what has been another stellar season in the European Le Mans Series. Just goes to show LMP2, LMP3 and GTE have been fine servants here. So we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you to Steph Wentworth. My thanks to Graham Goodwin sitting alongside me. From Johnny Palmer, hope you've enjoyed the whole day here at the Algarve International Circuit. We'll see you tomorrow, bright and early. Bye-bye.